Hello, welcome. This is Force 13 Live, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. My name's Nathan Foy, and we're tracking Hurricane Matthew, which is only about a few dozen miles away from where Hurricane Joaquin was at a similar intensity. Almost a year to the day. Not quite a year to the day, but in the same week. But this storm is much different than that, and we'll be talking about that during the next hour and beyond with the Skype team. Hello, who do we have now? Same as before, I believe.
And minus Strat.
So, Strat has left us for this hour at least, and Devon and Hank, Marcel and Craig are here. I think Craig is on silent, but he's there for moral support, I suppose, and to give us any information as it comes in.
Yes,
We're a coherent
before
team.
we begin, I just want to mention the death toll from Matthew has now risen up to 27, 21 confirmed dead in Haiti so far.
Well, that's probably only going to continue to rise, I'm afraid.
Exactly, that's exactly why I said so far. I didn't say it, but, it's very likely the truth. But yeah, let's get on with this.
Yep.
Okay.
Right now, what's going on? Latest recon pass just did 2 quick passes through the eye. I think that there's some technical issues right now with the recon, so I think that's why that we're not getting any drop zones, and the data does seem to be a bit dodgy because, again, it's only showing us the latest pass actually only showing minimal Cat 1 winds in the storm.
Can't be right,
I don't think that it's only minimal Cat 1. The Air Force, anyways, they are flying a plane into the storm now, and they should be there by the time we hit 8 o'clock. So
I'm just going to take a short break here from the desk. I'll be back in a few moments, so if you guys want to talk through maybe warnings or something to do with the storm for a few moments.
Sure. I'll pull that up right now. Hurricane warning, which means that hurricane conditions are likely within the next 36 to 48 hours. In effect for the southeastern Bahamas, including the Iguana, Samaya Iguana, Alkins, Crooked Island, Long Key, and Ragged Island. For the central Bahamas, including Long Island, Exuma, Rum Key, San Salvador, and Cat Island, as well as the northwestern Bahamas, including the Abacos, Andros Island, Berry Islands, Bimini, Eleuthera, Grand Bahama Island, and New Providence. This does include the capital city, Nassau. As well as in Florida, from north of Golden Beach to the Flagler of Lauzia County line, as well as all of Lake Okeechobee. Yes, it's inland, but storm surge can easily from Lake Okeechobee due to its immense size. A hurricane watch, which means hurricane conditions are possible within the next 36 to 48 hours. Hurricane warning, by the way, I messed up the definition. It's actually meaning within the next 24 hours, I believe. Hurricane watch is in effect from north of the Flagler of Lauzia County line to the Savannah River. That's in the states of Florida and Georgia, I believe. The Savannah River, I would imagine so.
The Savannah River is on the South Carolina-Georgia border.
That's what I thought. Tropical storm warning, which means tropical storm conditions are likely in the next 24 hours. In effect
Mike just got really muffled, Hank.
It happens. I'm sorry. Tropical storm warning is in effect for the Chokoloskee to Golden Beach in Florida, as well as the Florida Keys from the 7 Mile Bridge eastward, as well as Florida Bay. Tropical storm watch is in effect, which means tropical storm conditions are possible in the next 36 to 24 hours. That's in effect from north of Chokoloskee to the Swanee River. That's the warnings that are in effect for the system right now. We should have a new advisory out from the NHC, an intermediate advisory, in about the next 50 minutes. They won't update the cone for another 4 hours. They will only update the intensity, movement, and position.
And obviously, with the recon mission number 25, probably about 1 hour away from giving us any data. Hopefully that gets into the storm, into the National Hurricane Center before the 8 o'clock advisory. rather than directly after, because
Yeah,
right now it seems like the recon that's currently in there is not doing well.
yeah. It does look like it's having some technical issues, as you said. Also, good thing to, right now the latest visible imagery. Let me pull that up real quick. Screen share. Uh, screen share. There we go. See how it's the latest frame.
Something's going on with your mic over there, Hank.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're going under the water and up to get a bit of air again.
I don't know. I don't understand what's going on. I got to buy a headset the other day, but it turns out usually is.
Yeah, we're struggling with it, I'm afraid.
But anyways, here's the latest infrared imagery of Hurricane Matthew, and boy, I mean, it's looking a little bit better in the past frame or two, but certainly nowhere near as good as it looked when it was over Haiti or over Cuba, and certainly not as good as it looked maybe 4 to 6 hours ago. And also, here's radar. I'll refresh it to get the latest frames in here, and you can. This goes back a while, and you'll see here coming up to the latest that the storm doesn't look very hot on the radar imagery either. So there's the latest frame there, and it's just not looking great on the radar imagery either.
Is my mic back?
Yeah, who knows how long it'll stick with us, though.
Yeah, usually it sticks around for quite a while, and then I have a little bit of a period of,
How odd.
messing. Yeah, it's odd, but whatever. So yeah, as Devin said, it's not looking that great on radar. I would completely agree. As for where this storm is going, I know everybody and their grandparents want to know where the system is headed.
Well,
It's basically headed towards the Florida coast, eastern Florida coastline. Now, whether or not it makes a landfall is still not certain yet. But regardless of a landfall, you're still going to have effects. Along the east coast of Florida, you'll still have heavy rains, storm surges, hurricane force winds, possibly up to major force gusts. Yeah, that's mostly for the eastern coast of Florida. For the Carolinas, there's a bunch of questions going on there. It is still a little bit too uncertain at this point to say for certain, because of the fact that they're now predicting the storm to either make a loop or jump, like a little bit of a bounce motion, as it moves towards the northeast. So the threat right now is looking a little, for the Outer Banks especially, looking less of a concern as for the Outer Banks. For South Carolina, I wouldn't necessarily say that. It still should be at least Category 2 offshore on Saturday afternoon. So, yeah, just for anyone living in the southeast or really even the mid-Atlantic, this storm the cone could easily shift back to where it was yesterday. Just keep an eye on the system. Also, if you're in the Bahamas, past once the storm leaves, also keep an eye on it as it could loop back, probably as a weaker system at that point, but it's a little early to say that for certain. And yeah, that's basically what's going on with the forecast for the system.
Talking about the hurricane hunters, any more planes leaving or anything to that effect right now?
Right now we have mission number 25. They took off from Louisiana some time ago, and they are probably, I would say, 40 to 50 minutes from entering into the storm's core right now. They are just to the north of central Cuba at the
Someone
moment.
wanted us to show the sea surface temperatures, so would you like to go ahead with that, someone?
Let me pull up my screen share. Yeah, okay, there we go. But while I'm pulling it up, I should tell you that it really is not a concern whatsoever because they are very warm, especially in the Bahamas. 29 degrees, 30 degrees. plenty warm for tropical cyclone development. You can see also this little bit of a
Yeah,
cooler
very
front,
notable gap there.
notable little cooler front here, which was produced by Matthew, most likely. I believe someone has joined the call. Is that Orlando?
Yes, it's
Oh.
me.
Glad you knew,
Okay.
because I didn't.
That
Orlando.
entering north is usually his.
Hello.
Yeah, sounding a bit glitchy over there as well.
Mic is also cutting out. It looks like our mics
But
aren't
as we
doing too
saw,
well.
sea surface temperatures are good enough all the way till, well, if it's a landfall, all the way to Florida. And even if it was to make landfall as far north as the Outer Banks, sea surface temperatures are good enough all the way to those Outer Banks, aren't they?
Yep,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Absolutely.
And
So that's
to be
going
honest,
on.
if a storm was to loop around, sea surface temperatures are really good, so why is the storm going to weaken as they say it will?
Well, it's
Likely due to the trough interaction might increase shear significantly. So
pretty much. But also, looking while I'm on this page, I just glanced over at the sea surface temperatures anomalies, and it looks like that La Nina, well, the La Nina, the cooler pocket in the equatorial regions, looks like it might be trying to resurge, but I don't really know about that.
Looks like it.
Yeah, but
I'm
still,
surprised by that chart because it's a lot different to what it looked like a week ago.
yeah, but you still got anomalously warm waters across the globe, except in the Indian Ocean. So it's not really a La Nina; it's just a cool equatorial region and then warm most other areas.
Well, that's something to talk about another day.
Yeah, true. Yeah, let's just stick with Matthew right now. And take a look at the spaghetti models or the track guidance.
Uh-oh.
Try to ignore these that go into the Gulf. Just ignore this real quick. But it's pretty good consensus. This thing is going to move towards the northwest, either making a landfall in Florida or not. Looks like most of the models do not have a landfall, but this was initialized. Excuse me. About 5 hours ago, so this may not be as accurate as it could be. And then past.
You can say that again.
yeah, well, it should also be noted that red line that goes into the Gulf of Mexico that's the GFS model.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. They had a pretty interesting solution. They did a whole loop, moved it south of Florida, through the Keys, landfall in western tip of Cuba, north of the Yucatan, and then into Veracruz.
By the way, if you want to send us some comments or questions during the stream, start your message with Force 13 all in text and we'll get to it. Mr. White says, how bad do you think Central Florida will get hit?
Well, you shouldn't. Well, obviously you won't have any storm surges or anything like that because you're inland. But you will
You
probably
assume that, but Central Florida could mean the coasts of Central Florida too.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Orlando area because that's just where most people have been referring to. But there you should probably see heavy rains, strong gusts, possibly up to hurricane force if this storm moves a little bit farther west than the NHC is saying right now. And you can see some power outages, you can see some down limbs and all that sort of stuff. So just be aware. I wouldn't take this lightly, but I really wouldn't take this as a very, very, very serious thing either. If you live along the coast, that's a different scenario. But if you live in the Orlando area, just you'll be fine, most likely.
And you can see some more comments there if you want to get to them.
I don't necessarily want to ring any bells here, but from what I'm looking at here, it seems like maybe the effects might be similar to, at least in Central Florida anyways, the effects might be similar to Francis.
Right.
Well, yeah, but
that's what it's looking at right now. So
this
if you remember what happened with that storm and you prepared and made it through that storm, pretty much do the same thing and you should be fine with this one.
Well, this one isn't really supposed to, slow down to a near crawl as it moves towards Florida. But
you never know.
Well, it's pretty good.
This is Hurricane Matthew, so
this is not Francis. Yeah, a bunch of comments about
Yeah, I'll just read some out. Encore 1997 says, I'm in Daytona, might be a direct hit. Am I going to be in for a tough situation? Quite possibly, but
Yeah.
because of storm surge, because at the moment it's projected to strike at high tide in Daytona.
That's the
And
unfortunate.
storm surges are currently expected to be 5 to 6 feet within the area. Daytona Beach, Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, etc. They are all definitely in the concerned part of the Floridian coast, and they seem like they're going to be the most eligible to be receiving a direct hit from the core of the system.
Nate FX says, do you think the schools and stuff will be out for weeks like in 2005?
I wouldn't say for
Weeks.
weeks, but possibly, for Thursday and Friday, it's a possibility, especially Friday.
It's going to be a very long
Um,
weekend, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weeks. I don't want to put an S on that, but I'll tell you what, it could be potentially out for a full week,
Right.
depending on how bad it is, depending on where you are, obviously. But as of right now, especially considering this storm's basically expected to move parallel to Florida rather than directly perpendicular to Florida, which would be a much worse case scenario. Ask Haiti.
Yeah. But Recon, the Mission 25 is beginning to pick up tropical storm force winds, so they're getting close. Yeah, so this other Recon flight, I don't know if it's dodgy or they're having some technical issues, I would assume, but I don't know if it's if it's a dodgy flight or not. A little hard to tell for me, at least.
Tracy observes or remarks that this hurricane looks in diameter as big as the entire state of Florida.
I would not say that.
This is actually a very small storm when you really want to compare storms to this certain area. This storm's actually probably about half the size of what Hurricane Ike was back in 2008 in a very similar location.
But
And Joaquin was also much larger than this system in the same area. So this storm is actually rather small compared to other hurricanes.
Yeah, pretty much. But I should mention that it is expected to grow as it moves further north, because that's very typical of cyclones as they move further north in the northern hemisphere. They tend to their wind fields and their extent or their influence, extend quite far, or farther than and they were much farther south in latitude.
Hanj Zoe says, I'm in Miami and questioning if I should take shelter, but is this hurricane going to be bad?
Well, it depends on if it takes the western part of the cone or the eastern part of the cone, because Miami's basically in that area where 10 miles will make a huge difference on what the effects are. Currently, I believe downtown Miami is underneath a tropical storm warning, but the hurricane warnings are not that far to the north. And if the cone shifts west once again, which it very well might for the 8 o'clock, there is a possibility that Miami might go underneath hurricane warnings. So basically,
the cone's not going to shift west for the 8 o'clock.
Okay, well, it could. I'm just saying.
Okay.
It very well could.
SIP Gaming says, is the East Coast going to be affected?
East Coast of what?
Exactly.
East Coast of Florida looks like the entire East Coast is almost, I don't want to say guaranteed, but greater than 90% chance that the entire East Coast of Florida will be receiving some kind of tropical storm force winds in the next 2 to 4 days. Actually, I should say in the next 1 to 3 days. I read the cone wrong. It seems like the eastern coast of Georgia and South Carolina also have a very high chance of experiencing tropical storm force winds. As far as the likelihood of hurricane force winds, that's very uncertain at this point where that's going to exactly line up. And as far as North Carolina, that's even more uncertain because the models have no idea how sharply this thing's going to turn once it gets to South Carolina.
Yeah, pretty much. Devin pretty much described it almost perfectly there.
Do you want to give a mention to that disturbance as well down there?
Actually, yeah, why not? Let's just give Nicole in that other little area some love, I guess. The disturbance to the east of the Windward Islands, it's lower chance within the 48 hours, but still 20 in the next 5 days. Looking at satellite, yeah, it's not looking as hot as it was looking yesterday. We also have Nicole, which is 60 miles an hour now, and pressure 1,001 millibars. Yeah. 60-mile-an-hour winds, and get this. They said that Nicole could peak at 70 miles an hour. Oh, wait, that's Matthew. My bad.
Wait, what?
Yeah, look at my screen share.
Matthew's going to peak at 70 miles an hour?
No.
You got it right
Wrong
the first time.
That's
Wrong
some breaking news.
Radar is looking interesting here, guys.
Yeah, so Nicole, probably going to be, I think it could be peaking right now, but it could easily get up to 65 at least.
Any shift to the east in this storm will put tremendous amounts of shear over hurricane or tropical storm Nicole's position. So that is a very tenuous storm right now.
Mm-hmm. So other comments. Let's see. Oh gosh, I don't want to answer that question.
Which one?
Master Cool Beans, the boss, says is Hurricane Matthew going to be like Hurricane Sandy?
No.
No.
Here we go again with the Sandy comparisons.
Literally every storm that looks like it's going to impact the U.S. has had Sandy comparison. Happened with Joaquin. Happened with Hermine. It's going to happen with this.
Natural. It's a human reaction. Remember Sandy.
Just like in the mid 2000s, every storm that entered the Gulf of Mexico was a Katrina. Every storm that's expected to hit the East Coast now is going to be a Sandy.
Every storm in the Eastern Pacific is now going to be a Patricia.
Exactly. And every storm that is expected to hit the Philippines is a Haiyan, etc., 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 even though those storms are extremely rare. This storm is in no way expected to do anything.
I don't think many people realize that we often get 100 storms a year worldwide.
Yeah.
Yes.
He says the reason he asked is because he was worried about his uncle. That's natural. I'm guessing somewhere in the Northeast.
And his uncle's going to be fine for probably at least the next 5 days, unless the models decide to go berserk again, like they did this morning.
Yeah, and this person really wants me to answer this question because the official Magnolia Masso page says, "Is Alabama safe?" in all caps and 6 exclamation points with at least 12 up finger emojis.
For the next 5 days, Alabama should be fine.
Yeah, no problems.
I can probably assure you that over the next 5 days, Alabama should not be significantly affected by Hurricane Matthew. I think we can say that with some certainty.
Yeah, so let's actually take a look. I kind of feel like right now we're just kind of answering some questions that I guess...
They're important questions to answer, Hank.
Yeah, they're important questions to answer. Certainly. Not denying the questions at all. So we have that situation going in the Atlantic. In the Westpac, Chaba is dead now.
It's Chaba.
In the
over Hockeyato right now?
I think so. 2 depressions, or I think 1 depression and 1 non-depression. I don't know if 94C is a depression, but it might not be. Tropical depression.
It was designated a depression by the Japanese Meteorological Agency yesterday.
Okay. So then, it's a depression. Tropical depression 22, aka Tropical Depression Julian. That's a gasoline. That could become a storm as it moves further west. And we actually have a subtropical storm. Not a subtropical depression. Excuse me. Not shown on this graphic, but this little swirly down here, South Madagascar, that's a subtropical depression named Bransby.
I'm surprised it's not shown on the graphic because Jason just posted a version that did have it on the graphics.
I
so
believe
very
there's
strange.
also at least a track depression right now in the Arabian Sea. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know if that's dissipated since then.
it looks like
doesn't look like.
it looks like it has.
And
But yeah, that's
if you want to find that page, by the way, and stay up to date, that's on the Force 13 website, force-13.com.
Yeah,
also-
that's not there anymore.
also a little area of interest in the Eastern Pacific with flow chance development. Need I say more? No, I don't. So yeah, that's the situation going on globally. But of course, our main focus tonight is Hurricane Matthew.
Yep. Unlike when Matthew was about to hit Haiti, we also had a super typhoon hitting Okinawa. It looks like that we have our full, undivided attention on Matthew right now.
Yep.
Pretty much. Unless Nicole steals a headline, but that's like got no chance.
That's very likely to not happen, and that's thanks to a very powerful storm with a 7-letter name to its south and west.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I don't really know what's going on in the comments. Just too many, just whizzing by.
Yeah, if you want to attract our attention, start your comment with Force 13 all in text if you want questions answered. I'm just gonna pop over and see if there's any news on the any new warnings or anything out there right now. I expect not at this point, but the National Hurricane Center will be coming out with their update it's coming up, isn't it? Half an hour.
Yes, half an hour, pretty much, Nathan.
I'm looking at the recon right now. The possibly dodgy flight. They completely missed. They did not.
Yeah, they just said, you know what, we're just not going to fly into the eye. That's pretty much what they said there. Like, you know what, right turn. We're just not dealing with this anymore.
Yeah, there's some isolated thunderstorms coming in near West Palm Beach. One headed for Fort Lauderdale right now. It seems very isolated. And there's one that sparked a special marine warning just north of Key West. Just in case anyone's wondering.
And then the other mission going into Matthew is still on its way. We should get an update from them within, I'd say, the next half hour to 20 minutes.
Radar is still making Matthew look rather poor. I'm very intrigued to see what the new recon flight gets in. Hopefully they'll be able to get into the eye before the NHC advisory. I have a funny suspicion that they're not going to be able to do that, which means that we're going to have a possibly overrated or underrated storm going into the 8 o'clock advisory.
So people are doing more comparisons. How does it compare to Andrew and Charlie?
No.
Okay, well, Charlie was on the complete opposite coast of Florida, so I would probably say little to none. Andrew, I don't think that this storm's going to produce an Andrew-type scenario. It has Andrew-type size. I will say that. It is a very small storm. Whether if it will have Andrew-type intensity, more than likely not. I mean, there is always a possibility with the outrageous sea surface temperatures over the Bahamas easily exceeding 30 degrees Celsius. And there's also no wind shear to obstruct the storm in any way, which is a double whammy usually when it comes to intensification. But the track is more than likely going to be nothing like Hurricane Andrew or the 1926 or 28 hurricanes. This seems like it's going to make landfall much further north. If anything, maybe a David-like track is possible.
That's probably the best analog for the situation.
If you can call it that.
No, I'm not talking about like the whole storm as a whole, just like what's forecast. Right?
Let's move on. Any chance, I mean, similar questions than what we've had already. Any chance of Matthew and Nicole combining?
I Doubt it.
It's not looking good right now. What it seems like is going to happen is that there's going to be some sort of boundary set between the two systems, and they're going to operate independently. Normally, you would expect that the two systems would combine. You would expect Nicole to be sheared to complete oblivion and be absorbed by the
Yeah,
more
it's
powerful
defied it.
storm Matthew.
And all that
But
dry air as
that's very
well.
clearly not happening.
All that dry air as well that's defied.
Yes, that's the main divider right there, is that there's a pretty decent plume of dry air between the two systems, and that's not expected to go anywhere either.
Alright, let's keep going here. Do you think Port St. John is going to get hit hard? Pardon me for not
I-
knowing where that is.
You know where that is? Port St. John, you said?
Hmm.
Yep, Port St. John, Florida. I'll pull that up right now.
I don't know if it's Florida.
It is definitely Florida. It is definitely on the eastern coast of Florida. The question is where. It takes about 10 minutes for Google Maps to completely load for me. So,
Oh, goodness.
Port St. John is basically just to the west of Cape Canaveral.
Right.
So, well, Cape Canaveral right now seems like they're right over the middle of the National Hurricane Center cone. So,
Not looking good over there.
as of right now, the outlook for Port St. John is not good. We can't say that for sure that there's going to be a landfall in Port St. John.
Over the vicinity.
Right. But for right now, the outlook is not looking good for the area.
Saida Afrin says, what time will it hit Vero Beach?
Well, I don't think it matters where Vero Beach is.
Well, we can say what time it will pass, and that's probably going to be, what, Thursday night? Friday morning?
Let's see here. Vero Beach. I should know this. I really should, but I just don't.
South of Cape Canaveral, I believe.
Yes, it's just to the south of Cape Canaveral. Oh my. It's still on that jut out there to the north of Palm Beach and Boca Raton and whatnot. So it seems like, again, the storm's going to do a close approach. Maybe in... Oh, blimey. How long is that going to be? By Friday morning, if I'm getting my math correct there?
I'm thinking so.
Yeah.
The early
It
hours?
seems like the storm's going to, seems like it's going to make its closest approach to there. As of right now, early morning, Friday. But that can change rather
Charlton
drastically.
536 says, my grandma lives in a trailer at Pickwick Village in Port Orange. Do I need to get her out?
Well, mobile home is not a great place to be in during a hurricane, so I don't think it matters where on the coast of Florida Port Orange is. It seems like this is just to the south of Daytona Beach, actually. So yes, I would definitely suggest having her get to a more sturdy structure and a little bit away from the ocean as well.
Yeah, Ziomara says, is it going to hit the Keys? Not
It
directly.
does not look like it's going to be a direct hit on the Keys. The northern Keys are definitely going to get sustained tropical storm force winds, well, greater than 90% chance of that happening. The western Keys seem like they're in a better area. I don't want to say that they're completely in the clear, because any shift west in the cone can put the tropical storm force winds right over the islands. But as of right now, they're looking. It looks like that the storm's just going to miss them.
Expected wind speeds in South Carolina, we don't yet know, but hurricane force winds could be a possibility by the weekend. And a final question for now, about the possibility of tornadoes from the storm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I will take a look at that, and rather than guessing, I'll try to get a better specter on what that will be. Okay, so Thursday, there is. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. Well, I don't see a thing out for Florida per se on Thursday, but apparently there's a pretty good chance of tornadoes in northeastern Kansas, northwestern Missouri, and southern Iowa. Yeah. So.
Not what we were expecting to find out.
No, not what I was expecting at all. But yeah, that's what that's saying.
If anyone's watching there,
The
now you
Storm
know.
Prediction Center. The Storm Prediction Center right now is not saying anything too severe about the tornado risk in Florida. It might be because it's too far out to say what that will be yet. Yep, the center of Hurricane Matthew is forecast to reside offshore the east coast of Florida on Thursday, which would keep the most favorable conditions for tropical cyclone tornadoes over the water. Therefore, no severe probabilities will be necessary for Florida, barring a westward shift in the track. That's right from the Storm Prediction Center.
So, there we are. And will the cone move more west? Well, who knows?
Good question. Not, there's really no good answer for a question like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got anything to say, Hank? Marcel?
Well, really not all that much for me because I'm kind of busy with some other stuff right now. Although I probably should be participating in this live stream a little bit more.
Well, I guess we can take a look at any changes in the satellite imagery and get your thoughts, because...
Yeah, possibly.
I think Matthew said at least 110 miles per hour.
Yeah, I would put that as, I would put 105 as a floor for the storm's intensity. We're just pretty much waiting for the latest plane to go through the center of this storm. And I don't know what this recon plane is doing, but that is weird.
Strange.
I honestly don't know what the mission, the NOAA Weather Mission 4 is doing right now, but...
That eye's definitely still there, Devon, though. For Matthew.
Yeah, the eye seems to be trying to pop out, but I'm telling you, on radar, it's still not looking good. The western side is still wide open.
Yeah, they found a minimum pressure of at least 960.
Well,
That's lower.
Again, that suggests high-end Cat 2, so...
We'll just have to wait and see what the she says.
Yeah, the western half of the eye wall is still wide open on radar.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
Living Free says, will Jacksonville be hit?
I don't want to say yes, but I don't want to say no either. Right now, Jacksonville is underneath a hurricane watch, and it looks very likely that the storm will take a rather close approach to Jacksonville. I'll get it right eventually. Again, very similar, at least the track through 72 hours. Doesn't appear too different from, say, Hurricane David, albeit maybe a category stronger. So obviously that was a long time ago, so not a lot of people probably know what Hurricane David did in Florida. And
I'm sure some will.
I believe not much.
Well, I don't know if you want to take us back to the latest model spread again. Just to show everyone what it is, because people come in and out of the stream all the time, of course, and some people may not have seen what the situation is, but there's a lot of uncertainty, a huge amount of uncertainty. When was the last time you saw this amount of uncertainty for a situation like this? I guess Joaquin is the obvious example.
Yeah.
No, I would probably say Hurricane Matthew while it was still in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And that is definitely speaking from the heart there, because we had the model spread going anywhere from a landfall
Gotta
in
say, though.
Santo Domingo to a landfall in
Yeah,
the
that's
Cayman
right.
Islands.
But take a look at that. No, just the 2 models, is it, that's predicting an Outer Banks landfall now?
Yes, the NAM is one of them, and I believe the JMA is the
And
other one.
not a single model taking it to a South Carolina landfall, despite the 1.1 million evacuees right now.
Yes, that it doesn't need to make landfall in order to send the storm surge inland, though. And plus, since the storm's expected to move rather slowly off the coast of the Carolinas, very heavy rains are expected. Not necessarily the same kind of rains that were in Joaquin, but definitely rainfall that maybe could amount to around 2/3 the amount that was in Joaquin, at least preliminary model estimates. So, yeah, that's another reason why those evacuation orders are in there. The storm doesn't need to make landfall in order to produce storm surge, and very, very heavy rain is expected.
Cactus Boy says, how long will it stay in Florida?
Well, it should be in the clear. Florida, all of it should be in the clear by Saturday evening. Should be.
For now.
Yes.
But,
of course,
you know,
there's
this loop, I mean, how... you got? I'd say that might... It's still 50-50 for that loop, you think?
Right now, it's 50-50. Boy, that's just awfully weird. I can't think of any storms that have done that in that area with this intensity.
Huh, yes.
Think of a few that.
I mean, I'm sure that very weak systems have done loops like that. Say,
Orlando?
Hurricane Kyle.
Yeah.
I could think of. I said. I think I think I could think of a few storms that did something, not in that area, but in general did loop de loop. For example, we had Ivan.
Yeah, but that was
Okay, well,
also
that wasn't
very
just a
weak.
loop. That was like a whole freaking 360.
Yeah, well, this storm's expected to do something similar, curve around the entire Atlantic, and then come back towards the Bahamas. So
I've been
at
hearing
least that's what
reports from viewers throughout the day, Devon. A lot of gas stations now empty.
That's not surprising. I said 2 days ago that you should have been preparing for this storm already, as it seemed like the models were arcing towards the Floridian coastline. And yeah, you should have been prepared by this point, and it's really not surprising to see that gas stations are already empty in Floridian area. It's really not surprising.
Living Free says, I live in Ocala, Florida. Do I need to think about evacuating? Not likely. It's inland, isn't it?
Ocala?
You can see it on the screen right now.
Yes. Yeah, inland. That's probably going to... I think that you're probably going to be safely out of the hurricane force winds unless the storm moves significantly west of the cone.
We'll keep you updated on that. Looking unlikely now. Chloe Eckert says, can you tell if it will hit Pennsylvania? Well, Devon, you can tell them that because you're there.
I've been watching this storm rather closely. I live in Pennsylvania myself, hailing out of Sterling Township, currently in Williamsport. And I can tell you probably, I would say with a 70% certainty that Matthew will not be hitting Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Just waiting for the latest from the NRC to come out. They have,
might take
they have
some time.
updated on the AOI, but there's no change in percentages.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. It's because the convection over the system is not nearly as good as it was yesterday.
Gotta say though,
Passage in
Devon.
the eye?
But wait, Devon. You know, the recent satellite imagery is showing that there's been a secondary flare-up after that first one waned. which is interesting to
Yeah,
know.
well, this latest, I don't know what happened here, what caused that spike. That's interesting.
Uh-oh.
This latest flight that just went into the western eye wall recorded 75 knot flight level winds.
This is very strange.
So obviously the western side, as well I was saying before, and yeah, I can see the flare up there. With a little bit of a weakness in the center, but not something that I would consider to be an eye yet.
I've
Mainly
also
due to-
seen quite a lot of
Oh.
comments from people in the Bahamas right now, particularly further north, talking about
Yes.
how they're watching, and it's not looking good for most of the Bahamas, is it?
No, especially right now, Long Island, which I think that's the one that it's approaching right now.
The one that's under that
Oh.
big flare-up.
Yeah, that's what I thought Long Island was.
The one just
And-
to the right of it, actually, is Long Island.
And you also have Eleuthera Island and whatever island Nassau is on. They seem like they are
Isn't
under.
it New Providence? Is
Yeah.
that the island? I can't remember.
I believe it's New Providence Island, but Nassau seems to be basically right in the center of the cone, so definitely not looking good for them either.
Yeah. I just probably wanted to show this really quick of what the recon found in Matthew right now. And you can see this is relative humidity versus temperature, which indicates humidity. Yeah, pretty big gap in between here. This would be where it went through the eye, but
Right.
It's still at least an interesting sized gap, especially right here, where it's trying to go.
That
Would be the eye wall.
Hank, that drop zone was dropped way back in the Gulf of Mexico.
Excuse me. Was that actually dropped?
85
Am I-
west.
Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. Good lord.
Okay, let's get some questions. Herb Activist says, I'm 7 miles away from Cape Canaveral on a barrier island. How much trouble am I in?
Oh, you're on a burial island to the west or east of Cape Canaveral. Doesn't really matter. It looks like that Cape Canaveral is underneath the gun from this system. As of right now, it's right underneath the center of the National Hurricane Cone, and it's not looking good. I don't want to guarantee hurricane force conditions this far out. It's still 2 days. Probably will be more certain in 12 hours that this storm will be making a significant impact. But right now, it's looking, not a good outlook for the Cape Canaveral, Daytona Beach, Vera Beach
Asriel
areas.
Dramer encourages a battle of opinions by asking, is it weakening in any form?
Well, I think that it already has weakened. I'm waiting to see what the recon data shows from the passage to the eastern eye wall, because that is looking a lot more robust at the moment than the western eye wall, which looks terrible. But infrared satellite suggests a Category 2 storm, at least on my end. I don't know if Nathan's setups would disagree with that or not.
Well, undiscernible eye, I don't think it would be much good to conduct it.
Okay, well, undiscernible eye, the highest that any storm can
I would
possibly
suggest
be
right now
rated.
I would suggest right now it would be, well, obviously the eye's there, but it just would be pointless to conduct my own
Right.
method. But I would suggest, we've seen lots and lots of storms. It's not just the first storm we've ever tracked here on the stream. We've been doing this for nearly 5 years. I have, at least. And I'd say it's minimal Category 3.
And then I think that's a good upper estimate to the intensity of the storm. The eastern eye wall is definitely the most robust part of the system, and once the recon goes through there and shows what the winds in the eastern eye wall are, I think we'll get a good answer to what the radius of maximum winds are, and B, what those maximum winds are. They might only end up being Category 2 winds associated with this system, even though the pressure has gone down since the latest NHC advisory.
The eye's definitely
Which
there,
is-
and looking better in that latest frame, but I do agree.
On-
You're saying the southern eye wall's looking not great.
Western eye wall
Western.
is looking terrible.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
The western eye wall is looking terrible. The southern eye wall is slightly open. The eastern and northern eye walls are looking okay.
Yeah, we're looking out for the latest National Hurricane Center update. They usually do it. The intermediate
think they're gonna do
advisories
it
they
early
usually do it
here.
right on the hour mark. So
Yeah.
or even
expecting
sometimes
this
they even
one.
do it slightly late.
I'm
Yeah, but-
expecting this one to come out on the hour mark.
I would actually want to bring this up really quick, considering Matthew may be weakening at this moment, about the storm's intensity. And actually, it's been, obviously the highest ace producer of the Atlantic season so far.
By far.
Obviously. But it actually, 2016 was behind, was behind for the climatological ace average, because of, we've had a lot of named storms, but most of them have been quite pathetic.
Nicole,
Colin, Julia,
Colin.
yes, more.
Danielle, Bonnie,
Well, Danielle
Fiona, Ian.
Danielle looked decent, but it didn't. It was
that didn't contribute anything to Ace.
Yeah, I know, but it was very short lived.
A lot
Even
of people,
Alex didn't contribute anything to Ace.
a lot of
But,
people want to know what the black areas mean on the satellite
Alright, well-
imagery. I'm showing the RB top on the stream.
Okay. Yes.
To,
I will screen share
And while
and
you're-
go
while you're
ahead,
doing-
Hank.
I'll get straight to my point. This storm has actually allowed 2016 to get to surpass its climatological ace average for October 5th. So we are now ahead of schedule for ace because of Matthew, and we should probably get further ahead of schedule. Also,
Well, finally a season that is on track to be above the 2013-2015 average, which is only an ace of 65.
yeah. Well, it was above that. It was above that when the storm at least
Well,
became.
given 2013 drops that number rather quickly. 2014, 2015 were in the mid 70s. So
2014, 2014 was ever so slightly higher.
yeah, and that was because there were slightly more strong systems there. But anyways, to explain what you're seeing here on the infrared graph, and let me just
Yeah,
go
I don't
to
think
a-
that was actually the one they were talking about. The RB top, which is the one that I constantly show here on the stream.
Oh, so this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one I'm a lot less familiar with.
Well,
But
go
basically,
ahead.
yes. But basically, different. It's the same thing as the other IR or any other IR imagery you look for here. Different colors basically correspond to different temperatures. The colder the color, the deeper the red is going to get, and then it'll turn to black, and then it'll start turning to white. So that's what you're going to see here. Basically, the white cloud tops on top of the red, those are the tallest or the coldest cloud tops in the storm. And so those represent the tallest thunderstorms, the strongest convection, probably the strongest winds, but that's a little debatable. And you can see here just how much better the northern part of the storm looks to the southern part of the storm, and the quote-unquote eye is
Yeah.
on this color.
Ashley Hall asked a pretty good question. What is ACE? So basically, what ACE is, it's basically I don't actually know the formal equation for ACE, but basically it determines. Well, I have a pretty good idea of what it is, but I haven't really gotten there yet.
It is complicated.
Yeah, well, I'm not that advanced in mathematics yet.
It's
but
only a sum.
Well, yeah, but it's complicated when we're talking about a hurricane. We don't need to know the technical stuff at this juncture. But
True.
but you square the knots that the storm is currently doing for a 6-hour advisory, I believe it is, and divide it
Yep.
by 1,000, and you get the ace value for one advisory.
That's it.
For those in the know.
10,000.
Did I say 1,000?
10,000. Yes,
I meant
it's
10,000.
10,000.
Oh well. That's it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
and you just add up all of those, and
Yeah,
that's
all
what
up.
the ace is.
Well, okay.
It's not like integrated kinetic energy where you have
Uh-oh,
to
here we go.
integrate over all the wind fields and over the radius of maximum winds. That gets ugly.
Okay. So x squared divided by 10,000. Okay.
Oh dear. Well, at this point, guys, we're going to take a break, and we're going to have more discussion in 5 minutes. I see David's joined us. We'll hear from him soon.
Real
Go ahead.
quick, Nathan. The 8 o'clock is out.
Hmm.
It is still a Cat 3.
Oh
115.
wow!
115, so they've dropped it slightly, haven't they?
Yeah.
So there we go.
The latest recon does not support Cat 3. That's
And it didn't support Cat 5 either.
Well, no, that's a different story.
Don't go there. Back soon.